All right. Hello, everyone. We're so glad you're here. My name is Ashley Browning. I'm on the marketing team here at Soci. On behalf of Soci, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us for this webinar in partnership with Google and Painting with a Twist. Before we get started, I'd like to briefly run through a few housekeeping items. First, addressing the number one question we received. Yes, this session is recorded and can be rewatched or shared. You'll receive an email with details later on that this week. Feel free to ask questions anytime during this presentation. We'll answer as many as possible during the QA session, and I'll follow up directly if we miss any. Lastly, a post-event survey will open in a new tab as you exit the webinar. Please take a minute to answer these questions, share feedback, and suggest future topics you'd like to explore. Now I'm thrilled to introduce our speakers for today's discussion. Michael Snow is a local SEO evangelist and co-host of the SEO Juice, Soci's monthly webinar series that provides the latest local SEO news, trends, and strategies to enhance your local SEO efforts. Ashley Doe is in partnerships at Google, connecting users with local businesses through enhanced discovery experiences on Google Search and Maps. Skyla Souza is the new director of marketing for Twist Brands and has been with the company for 3 years, working with Painting with a Twist and Pinot's Palette. Mike will be kicking off the discussion today, so I will turn the time over to him. Take it away, Mike.
And I muted right from the beginning. That's a great start. Thank you, Ashley, for the introductions. I really appreciate it. Because we're going to be talking social today, before we get started, I want to start things off with just a really quick poll. And if you want to spark that, Ashley, I'd love to know, do you currently link your social media profiles to your Google Business profile? Yes, but only for some. No, but we plan to, or I didn't know that was possible. Just while we're talking about this for a little background, or while you're answering, Google added the ability to add social links back in, I want to say, July of 2023. So it's been nearly 2 years. And so before that, I think businesses had to try and put schema on their pages and do a bunch of stuff and hope Google picked it up. So very excited that this happened and to be talking about it today. So give everyone another minute to vote. And we'll see what people have to say. Actually, we should probably wrap that up because we don't want to spend too much time on polls. We've got a lot to go over today. And so what answers do we have? So, I love this. Yes, for all locations is 67%. That's fantastic. Obviously, we have a group that's very interested in making sure that they're connected like that and paying attention to what we've been saying. Yes, for only some locations, 13%, no, and no are both at 10%. So great. So let's kick things off, shall we? I will say I'm really excited, like I said, to be taking part in today's webinar in partnership with Google and Painting with a Twist to present this case study. And for those that follow our monthly SEO Juice webinar, you probably know why I talk about these things a lot. But for those who don't, you may be wondering, why are we talking about social with Google and what does it have to do with my GBP performance? The first part is really easy to answer. Social is obviously becoming a big part of the search journey. It's also experiential. And Google has begun visualizing posts in really cool ways over the past year and a half or so. And Ashley's going to highlight some of that in just a few minutes. So excited to see some of that. To answer the second question, what does this have to do with my Google performance? Lies in Google's own support pages on how to improve your your local ranking on Google. If you haven't gone to Google's page on improving your local ranking on Google, go to it. It's really interesting. I mean, there aren't a lot of insights that, hope like, oh, do this and this will happen, right? It's more of a philosophy. What is Google trying to do in order to provide you the best answer? And they say there are 3 factors they use in determining the best local search results. Things like relevance, or what I like to call the checkbox optimizations. Do you have the right categories, the right attributes? Are you relevant, right? If you are a pizza restaurant, do you say you're a pizza restaurant? Distance, because again, it's local search. So Google's going to try and find the closest thing to you or where you're going. And then lastly, prominence. If there are multiple things, Google needs to rank those in a certain way. So for example, let's say you're looking for vegan pizza near me, or vegan pizza delivery near me. Google's going to first look at those things that are within the distance of near you. They're going to put together a list of relevant listings, things that have pizza restaurant, that have vegan marked as an attribute, that have delivery marked as an attribute, and then rank those with prominence using things information around the web links, articles, directories, review count, and score, local pages. So it made sense to me when Google added, sorry. So it made sense to me when Google added social links that this could be a signal for prominence, right? And I started saying at the time to customers without any real evidence, but really just going off that previous assertion, essentially, that like reviews and like any sort of information around the web, that social channels could begin to play a larger role in validating a business through customer interaction and feedback. It's one of those passive signals, right? You can influence it by putting up posts and doing all those things, but you can't directly control that, right? So it's kind of like reviews. You can influence someone leaving reviews, but not. And so I kind of said, if they're asking for it, they're looking to validate things like, if you know Google's EEAT rater guidelines, experience and expertise through posts and photos, authority through likes and shares, because if you're liking and sharing something, it means you see them as an authority in whatever it is they're talking about, right? Potentially. And then trust through ratings and followers. I always look at, sharing something actually too is, putting your authority or your trust on the line, right? You're not just liking something, you're saying, hey, I really believe in this enough to share this. And so when Ashley came to me, or came to us, I should say, last year, and said, hey, we would really love to do a test with one of your customers. And it wasn't obviously Google coming to us saying we'd love to do a test on visibility. It was about doing a test to make sure these social signals, how are they affecting our customers? Are they helping with obviously visibility, but also with engagement? Are people engaging with these things? Are people finding more information about that business, about that experience, and going, hey, I want to take part and interact with this particular painting and sipping business rather than the one over there, right? So this is where we get into our test itself. So what we did is we talked to Skyline team over at Painting with a Twist and Ashley, and we wanted to look at those things that were signals that denoted success for Painting with a Twist. So we look to validate that signals from linked and active social channels improve visibility, so search impressions, and engagement, calls and website visits. Now, you may notice that map impressions and directions are missing from this objective. The reason being, if you know anything about businesses like Painting with a Twist, they have a class, you're usually setting that up in advance. So if you're looking for directions, you're on your way. So I didn't want something like someone already, like a lead already converting, color the results of this. I wanted this to really be about the leads and about gaining new customers. And so what did we do? Well, what was the methodology of this test? Well, a test group was selected with an average growth rate within 1% of the overall growth rate for Painting with a Twist locations. So what does that mean? So what that means is if all Painting with a Twist locations had a 9% growth rate in December, that the test group was within a percentage point of that, maybe 8% growth or 10% growth. So the idea that over the course of the year, they've been performing pretty much the same. Month to month, it may have gone up or down 2 points or so, but overall that year was pretty flat. Then in November, once that test group was identified, November, December, they started adding links to their local or brand social media profiles if they didn't have those already. And then we recorded a video and provided instructors from the test group recommendations for improving social engagement during that 3-month period. And so what did we see? Well, key findings, and we'll go through the data a little more after this slide, but the key findings, the test group's growth rate for search impressions outpaced the control group by nearly 9% year over year by the 3rd month. The test group's growth rate for web clicks and phone calls outpaced the control group year over year by more than 10%. And I will say, we saw this as a steady rise, and we'll look at that in a minute. And then lastly, we found this feature may also be influencing reach and engagement on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll talk about that a little more as well. So the data, which is what I think a lot of people are interested in seeing. So like I said, we tried to start this with fairly even growth rate year over year. From January through October, the growth rate was within a percentage point. It's actually down about 0.8% for the test group. The first time we ran data was at the end or the beginning of February. Honestly, at the time, it had only been a month of the test. I didn't think we would have as big of a rise as we did but we did. And in fact, I included November and December in that block of that first look at the data, because we noticed as soon as people started adding their social profiles, that that gap started to increase. And it kept going. When we got to February, it went up to 7.8. We got to March, it went up to nearly 9%. And I will say so far for the first 15 days of the month, first half of the month, it's actually over 10% now. It's at 10.1. This growth is continuing. Look at the engagement, web clicks, same thing within a percentage point, actually almost even. And we see that same growth month over month over month. And actually it's at 11.3 for the first half of the month right now. For phone calls, a little more wild. I will say it was within a percentage by the end of the year, but it kind of fluctuated more a little bit. But I will say, even though there was a bit of a slow growth from November to January, once it hit February into March, it kept going. And it's about flat for this month right now. So it hasn't gone down and it stayed pretty consistent. This is all pretty striking data in my mind. And it really shows that, there's something there. But the real thing is what did this test group do differently? Like, was it just adding links? And it wasn't. The test group locations published 61% more Facebook posts than the control group per location. The test group published 59% more Instagram posts per location. Some of the rest were a little different. LinkedIn, TikTok, X, taken a little longer for adoption, I will say, but the ones that did take part, 30% of the test locations do post on LinkedIn versus 11% of the control, and they posted 330% more than the control group. Only a few locations are testing on TikTok, but we had 35% of the test group, 21% of the control locations, still kind of low. I think there's still an adoption, obviously, within the local industry and kind of getting up to speed with TikTok, but I thought everyone might find that interesting. And then 6% of test locations posted to X, more and 4% of control location postings. Could also be people are just starting to back away from X a little bit. Don't know. A lot of theories you could have behind that, but they posted a lot more. So looking at any data we got back from those social channels, we looked at Facebook, we looked at Instagram. I didn't provide Instagram data here because once this data started, I think, becoming more socialized a little bit of what was going on within Painting with a Twist, we had a lot more people adding Instagram. So that kind of threw the data off. But looking at Facebook engagement, what we did see is that February, March engagement was way up when it came to those channels. Obviously, they're probably posting more, that creates more engagement, but it could also be people are finding them more through Google, right? Because people are seeing those links, they're seeing the carousels that we'll look at. But what was really interesting is their engagement was up, was in positive, while the control group was a little negative. And then lastly, the reach was up as well. So not wanting to spend a lot of time and move things along, I want to give you all the takeaways from this. If you want to try and repeat this experiment, which you should, it shouldn't even be an experiment. It should be just what you are doing. Social is important. We're seeing this. We'll probably continue to test this out, but everything I'm seeing so far is just validating this. So what should you be doing? Add your social media URLs to your Google business profiles if you haven't already. 60% of you already have, so that's great. For those who haven't, do it. And in fact, add all of them. If you only add a couple, get the rest in there. And for platforms where you don't have a localized profile, link your brand URL. It's okay. According to Google's guidelines, it says a single social URL can be used over multiple listings. Your brand URL, use that if you don't have that localized. Signals are signals, and signals are good. And information is good. Maintain an active social presence across linked accounts, right? You want to make sure that there's activity going on, that you're getting that engagement, that you're getting that that reach. Just having the channel isn't providing signals, right? You need to be doing something with that. And posts aren't going to appear on Google unless there are recent posts. Ashley can validate if I'm correct or not, but it's recent posts. If there aren't recent posts, I don't see carousels very often. So it's about recency. It's about telling people what's going on now. Create posts that both inform and prompt engagement. I think this is important because you're trying to provide the experience and expertise, right? So you want to talk about what you do and why you do it well, but you also want to post something that gets people to want to engage with it, something fun. I will say for Painting with a Twist, this is a little easier because they have painting classes. People want to see the art they created. They want to engage with that. It also made them a really good subject for this test. And then lastly, localize whenever possible, right? Prominence is also about local prominence, right? You want to make sure that you're talking and you're engaging with people in your local community. Yes, you can use brand links for those you don't have, but you want to have some local social channels with local engagement. And that's what I have for now. I will say I've talked a lot about what we've seen, but I think the real, I think, exciting story, well, it's a great story, but what's really exciting is how Painting with a Twist saw this in reality. And so I want to hand things over to Skyla to kind of provide what they saw on their end and how all this visibility and engagement affected positively their instructors.
Thanks, Mike. And thank you, Sochi and Google, for having us participate in this. It's been a great experience, and I want to share just like a couple bits of nuggets just to kind of back up what Mike's saying here. So why did we participate in the first place? As a franchise system, we're always looking for easy, high impact wins that help our studios show up better online, specifically on Google, just because that's where so many of our guests are searching and finding us. So we wanted to test whether these small, simple updates like linking our social accounts and posting consistently could actually make a real difference in how we're being discovered. So, and I think Mike talked about this a little bit, but for us, for our brand, we're Paint and Sip Studios. So the social content piece of it, our social media, it plays a big role in how people experience our brand. Especially with social media, we can show just the fun, the creativity, the community vibes that kind of make Painting with a Twist what it is. So we liked the idea of that energy potentially showing up in search results where people are looking for us. And then just to kind of support some of what Mike has said too, what did we learn before and after results? So the studios that participated in the test, not only did we see kind of the things that Mike has shared, the data Mike has shared, but we looked, at our own website traffic and Google Analytics and, sales revenue and whatnot. So the studios that participated in the test outperformed the rest of the system by more than 8 percentage points in just website traffic. And then specifically, Google sourced users, people that came from Google, were up 14 percentage points. So obviously a strong sign that these small changes, that's always kind of our goal, because our franchisees, they wear many hats and we want easy wins for them. And this was something that was a small, easy win that they can definitely get behind. That's not a big lift for them. So this small change definitely helped boost the visibility. And then, of course, like what's most important to us is that this all translates into actually increases in bookings and sales. So we did actually see that across the board that the test studios also saw increases in bookings on the website. So simple updates actually resulted in good results for us. And then moving forward, strategically, we're going to make a couple adjustments. So just to piggyback again on what Mike said, but we're going to make sure all of our studios have their social profiles linked in their Google business profiles. This was not something that we pushed or required before. When we did the onboarding with Sochi, we kind of swept that to the side and we said, we'll figure that out later. And now obviously we realize that this is an important piece. So we will be implementing that across our system. As a brand and as, from a marketing perspective, we've always really coached up our studios to treat Google business profile like its own social media channel. Not just a directory, not just a listing where people find our information, but a place where we can post updates and just like you do your social channels. So Sochi helps us do that, obviously, with the posting and posting across all different channels. So we're going to continue to, push that as a priority. From a headquarters standpoint and a franchise, we provide just once a week, one post a week for all of our studios across the system that posts onto Google. But just, to support, again, the localized content is really important. So we are always coaching studios to post 3 to 4 times on Google each week. And that's a variety of posts, events, offers, updates. So we heavily utilize that piece of our Google business profile, the posting piece. And then I'd say last kind of shift in strategy, I guess, would be to really just continue to prioritize engaging social content. We want to make sure that with this connection of bringing our social posts kind of into Google, and more of even what Ashley's going to share about how those posts get highlighted, we're going to make sure that continues to be a priority of ours. Sometimes social content gets a little pushed to the wayside with marketing strategies, because it does take some work, but obviously it's so important, especially showing up on Google in that way. So we're going to continue to just prioritize engaging social content, and just, being able to showcase our brand on Google through all of those avenues, not just in a listings, but getting the social piece of it where we can show off, the energy of our brand is so important. So that's what we're going to continue to do from a strategic point of view.
That's great. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
that, Skyla.
Yeah,
That's
thanks,
amazing.
guys.
I love that it all aligns, that it's just not our data making it seem like, well, our data shows this great stuff, but for you to validate that and your customers, or your individual instructors and all your data validating that is just fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'll move things along. I know we only have about 10 minutes left. Wanted to do one more quick poll before we get into Ashley here.
Yeah, our second poll is going to be, how actively do you manage your Google Business profile? Very actively? Are you updated weekly, somewhat actively, maybe monthly, rarely, a few times a year, or not at all? Haven't really optimized it. And thank you so much, Mike and Skylar, for passing on, having me part. Oh, my room just turned off. Love to have that in a webinar. You think at Google, we'd have our room situation set up well.
All right, we still have 10 minutes for someone to deliver something and my dogs to bark. So.
Perfect. Okay, let's see what the poll says. Okay, amazing. Well, 44% updated very actively, 31% somewhat actively, 25% rarely, and none of you don't optimize it at all, which is what we love to hear. As an introduction, my name is Ashley. As Ashley Browning introduced me in the very beginning, I work at Google and I work on partnerships, trying to figure out and help all of you understand what to optimize on your Google Business profile and building features around that. And so if you haven't heard the word of today, it's social. How many times have we mentioned it? We're going to talk about how to connect your social strategy with Google. And along the lines of how frequently do you update your Google Business profile, there's some information that might be set it and forget it. Do it once, do it in your initial setup. It's really easy, it takes 2 seconds and you're done. There's some information where you should be going back and updating it more frequently and really making sure that your online presence reflects who you are today and what makes you unique and what's special. And so there's 2 different ways to connect your social strategy with Google. The first is just adding your social media links to your Google Business profile. Like Skyla says, this is a really kind of bang for your buck, low effort thing that you can do 2 seconds today if you don't already have it added, but most of you kind of already do, and just make sure it's there. And then hopefully, as long as it doesn't change, you can just leave it. Meanwhile, the second part of this strategy is sharing updates directly on Google with local posts. Like Skyla says, treat Google as a social media channel. So you wouldn't set up your Facebook or Instagram accounts and never post on it ever. I mean, maybe that's what my husband does, but you probably wouldn't do that as a business. And so in the same way, don't treat Google as go back to Google and update it with local posts. So then after you do that, where does this data show, right? That's the main question that we get asked. We do all this work. What's the impact, which Skyla and Mike talked about? And then also, where does it even show on Google? There's so many different features that we're launching. Where does it show? So I'm here to show you the variety of different ways. The first is kind of like the basic step that has been existed for a long time, which is just showing your social media links in your profile. So if I'm going painting a twist, I'm going to the About tab and I just want to see information about the business. Oh, great. Those are the profiles there, and I could just link to it and go to those pages. It's a really easy way for me to see all the information about Painting with a Twist in one place. There's also the By Owner tab, which displays posts made from your Google post product. So these are different posts that Painting with a Twist made on their Google business profile. I love that a lot of them talk about, Mother's Day coming up. So that's a huge event. And this is a great activity, a local activity that I could do with my mom and go with the local Painting with a Twist. The next one is a newer feature called updates, where if you were to search for, say, your business on Google and you scroll down, you'll see carousels that say what's new, which will then also show kind of the same information of the By Owner tab, so your Google posts, then also updates. And this is actually pulling in different updates from your social channels and just shows it in a carousel right there. So it's kind of all in one place. And you get this by, again, linking to your social profiles and posting directly onto Google. And then lastly, we'll also feature videos taken at your place. So these are kind of different videos from Painting with a Twist Austin customers. They're sharing their experiences on short form video, and we're surfacing that on Google as well. This is a pretty great breadth of things that we're doing, but we're increasingly trying to feature additional ways to surface your social strategy. And so in terms of the next slide, here are some do's and don'ts. So in terms of your do's, there's a lot of different types of content out there, but the specific type of post that we care about, what Skyla already mentioned, are your events, deals, and specials. So for your events, is it Mother's Day? Is it happy hour? Is it, a special event that you're doing? For deals, do you have a buy one, get one? Do you have, I don't know if Painting with a Twist does this, but bring a friend, and that other friend gets a free Painting with a Twist, or any specials that you have. So this is really what sets you apart, and this is what information we're trying to highlight. Next, consider Google as part of your social media strategy. It's typically really thought of as a set it forget it platform, but so many users go to Google. We know this, and it really is a marketplace, and it's a social media strategy. Next is including keywords in your posts. So along the lines of events, deals, and specials. If it is Mother's Day, if you want to be surfaced for that, if I'm searching for Mother's Day events near me or Mother's Day activities near me, we want Painting with a Twist to show up because we posted about that. Always attach a great visual. So as you saw in all those examples, there is always a picture associated with it, whether that be a picture or photo or a video. And then lastly, encouraging your customers to share their experiences. I know everyone has their own way of approaching this, but word of mouth is so important. And it's one thing coming from the business, it's another thing coming from your customers. And they can share their experiences through Google reviews, photos that they post, and videos, especially on short form video. So YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram. I don't really actually have many don'ts at this point in time. I was trying to figure out do we have any don'ts? The main one I can share is don't post it without a description and a date if that's applicable for an event, for example. These are all different signals that Mike, when Mike was talking about relevancy, these are all different signals that we use. So the description, the date, these are all different parts of your local optimization that you can incorporate to give Google the signals for us to determine is this relevant to a user's query or not. Awesome.
So,
right on time.
This is great. We do have a minute left. We have a couple questions. Maybe we can quickly answer. For over 300 stores, each has their own Facebook page. However, there is one Instagram account for the brand. Should we add Instagram to each location? If not, why? I could kind of take that from what I've seen. You can tell me if I'm wrong, Ashley. It's okay to add a single Instagram account, especially if that's very active, right? It's good to have local ones, but if you're going to add a local one that isn't going to be active, or you're not doing some kind of waterfall activity posting so people can engage locally, then maybe you do want the national one. I think it really is about which one is providing the most up-to-date experiential information. Local is good, but if you're not going to provide any information, you should provide something that at least gives a good overall experience. That's my take. Ashley, is that wrong or?
Yes, totally correct.
Well, we are in a business that's sensitive to privacy issues and find it hard to post videos. What do you recommend we do instead? No, that's a good one.
For this one, I'd say probably, I don't know exactly for what vertical, but you can kind of be creative with images. Like, in fact, most of the images today were created using AI in this deck, so it's pretty impressive what you can do. I think I see another question actually about this. Like, are there any restrictions using AI generated media on GBP posts? No, in fact, I could definitely see that as something on our. I'm not saying I'm not announcing something new, but I could very well see us developing that in the future. I know we actually have that ability for our product studio and listing your retail products on Google. So there's no restrictions on that.
Gotcha. I always recommend to customers that can't post things, maybe they're in a medical area or they teach kids or something where you can't just post a lot of videos, is to maybe post something about the people that work there, right? If you do home health care, like highlight home health care workers, like, hey, this person does it, this is why they do it, they love it, they do this, they work on these kind of services. If it's school, why do people like to teach? Like, I think there's a way to talk about you and what makes you really good at what you do, if you can't show necessarily the activity you're doing. So I think you can just be creative, think about what you can do and take advantage of that. And videos can be shared in Google Posts, yes. And I think I just read something today that we've updated our system so that is now available. I could be wrong, but I think I just saw a note today at Sochi. So exciting news there. So I know we're right at time. I don't know if the other Ashley, do you have any housekeeping or any things you want to end with? Otherwise, I do want to say, like, Skyla, Ashley, thank you so much for taking part in this. I was really excited to do this test. I am beyond excited about the results because it just validates kind of what I've been saying and thinking. So it makes me feel less crazy that no one else talks about these things.
It's so fun to hear from Painting with a Twist as well in their own strategy. Something that I failed to mention as well in my section is the whole reason why we're here is that Sochi's a wonderful partner. So thank you for being a partner. On the Sochi platform, you can do all the things that we mentioned on their direct platform by adding your social media links in their listings, as well as posting on Facebook, Instagram, as well as Google.
Thank you for that. And so as our marketing Ashley, our Sochi Ashley said at the beginning, after this, there'll be a survey. If you don't mind filling it out just to give us some feedback, we'd love that. This recording will be available for those who didn't get it. It'll be sent out, it sounds like, either later this week or beginning of next, but you will get this and you'll hear a lot more about this from us. We'll probably write up about it a lot more, go into a little bit of deeper dive on it. But wanted to provide this high level information and get you all kind of on the inside track and adding your social and taking advantage of this and boosting your leads and revenue. So thank you all.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mike, Ashley, and Skyla, for joining us and sharing your thoughts in today's discussion. Big thank you to the audience as well for your questions and engagements. We'll follow up with any we didn't get to. And as Mike said, today's presentation was recorded, so we'll make sure everyone gets a copy. But thank you so much for joining us, and I hope everyone has a great day.